let's turn to the next passage. By the way, just to make sure that we're looking at the same word, sanctifies. In the English, sanctified, again, we see here in the Greek, hagiadzon is rooted in the same Greek word that we saw earlier. In fact, if I hover my mouse over it, it's Strong's number 37, versus in 1 Thessalonians, if I hover my mouse over it, sure enough, Strong's number 37. So dealing with the same Greek word. It's not like Paul switched terminology underneath us and our English may not reflect it, like happens from time to time, right? Unless you're not aware of it. But in this case, again, same Greek word. Now, it's not the same writer. I don't think Paul wrote the book of Hebrews, but it doesn't matter, really. We're looking at the same terminology that's used by the writers. And in fact, it's used twice there. Hagiadzamanoi, same root word, hagiadzon and hagiadzamanoi. All right, and then the last passage that we're going to look at briefly for our Trinity study here is 1 Peter chapter 1, verse 2, but we'll start in verse 1 to catch the context. Peter says, Peter, an apostle of Jesus Christ, to those who are elect, exiles of the dispersion in Pontus, Galatia, Cappadocia, Asia, and Bithynia. And then in verse 2, he says, according to the foreknowledge of God the Father. This is one of these triadic passages where you have all three persons mentioned. According to the foreknowledge of God the Father, in the sanctification of the Spirit, for obedience to Jesus Christ, and for sprinkling with his blood, may grace and peace be multiplied to you. So we have Peter writing this time, and he uses the same, a similar Greek construction here, hagiasmo. This Greek word right there. Hagiasmo is rooted in the same Greek word. We can see it Strong's number 38, which if you were following along, Strong's number 37 was the other previous words, which tells you that in your lexicon, this is the very next entry, 3738, meaning it's rooted in the same Greek word that we used earlier. Sanctify, right? Set apart, be made holy. According to the foreknowledge of God the Father, but notice that Peter says it's in the sanctification of the Spirit. Sanctification of the Spirit. Right? So it's the Spirit who causes this sanctification to come to pass in Peter's writing here. And yet, Paul wrote earlier that it's God who sanctifies, and the writer to the book of Hebrews wrote earlier that it's the Son, Jesus, who sanctifies us, right? So how are we to interact with this language? Well, it's exactly the way I've been speaking all along.